What's up, guys? Tyler here, gaming hard, and let's take a look at Shadow of Mordor. Now, this is going to be a lot like my let's take a look at Destiny video, although I decided to go much later in the Shadow of Mordor game, since I did my Destiny video while I was around like level 9, 10, 11, something like that, and my opinion of that game actually changed the further I got along in it. It was just so unbelievably repetitive, and I had some issues with Destiny that I really didn't get to voice in that video. So I decided to get a lot further along in this game before doing a video like this, where we play through Shadow of Mordor. We play we play through some of the different types of things that you can do in the game. We examine the game and just kind of check it out, and I want to offer my opinions to you guys and let you know how good of a game this is, should you check it out, all that good type of stuff. Okay, so the premise of this game, of course, is you are a man named Talion, and my Talion is going to look a little bit different than a lot of people's Talion that you will see, and that is because I have a custom skin that was exclusive to the PlayStation version. This is the Dark Ranger skin. It looks a lot cooler than just his regular stuff. Here you'll see there's some Uruks just hanging out, and so this is a good opportunity to kind of showcase the combat to you guys before we get started. So the combat is very much like Batman Arkham series, which is a type of combat I am actually quite good at, although I might not quite be quite as good at it while talking. Let me kind of get a hold of it, because we've got a lot of different enemy types in here, and just like in Batman, there are lots of different enemy types that require different tactics. Wow, I can't believe I keep screwing up. Let me see here. The reason for this is this dude is a Berserker. You can't attack him head on. Let me get rid of this this dude, get him out of the way. Kill this Berserker real quick. This is blow this dude's head up. Now I am very upgraded here, so this isn't indicative of how you will start things off, actually. Oh, okay, this is actually like a captain, I suppose, here. Mozu Lockjaw. Okay, that's why I was having a bit of a tougher time than usual, is because I actually had a captain launching poisoned arrows at me while I was trying to fight those dudes. He can be damaged by combat finishers, though, so we should take him out here pretty quickly. Boom, he's dead. Ground execution. And yeah, it's just like a much more violent, mind you, version of the Batman Arkham combat. You press square to attack, just like in Batman. You press Oh, see that now? That's a Berserker. He has to be stunned before you can attack him. You press square to attack. You press triangle to counter. And once you get a hit streak of 8 built up, you can do special moves that usually consist of you pressing 2 buttons at once. Circle and triangle do an execution, while see, what would it be? I mean, I think it's X and square together do a Wraith Flash, where he pounds the ground and stuns all of the enemies around him. And actually, since I just killed this captain, I should pick up this rune, which is very similar to kind of the Bat Swarm attack from Batman Arkham City. And of course, just like in Batman, I'll show you the Wraith Blast. That's it right there. And if there's a lot of enemies around, they would all be stunned. Just like in Batman Arkham City and in Arkham Asylum, you eventually get an upgrade that allows you to do special moves after your hit streak counter reaches 5 instead of 8. So, other than that, you know, X to dodge. If you dodge, you will also vault over enemies. This is yet another captain. Wow, these guys are everywhere over here.
Something you don't see every day, even in Mordor.
Now, since we're running into yet another captain here, let's talk about these captains real quick. You have a deal in here called the Nemesis System. And basically you have these captains, and each of them has sort of unique abilities and unique weaknesses, known as their strengths and weaknesses. And in order to learn a captain or a war chief's strengths and weaknesses, you have to gain intel. This is very similar to the mechanic, say in like Batman, also, where you have certain enemies that you need to interrogate to find out about the Riddler's plans. Well, in this game, you have certain enemies that you need to interrogate to find out the identity of certain captains, like these ones who are blacked out here. I do not currently know their identities. So I need to gain intel in order for those identities to be revealed. I also need to gain intel to reveal strengths and weaknesses of captains as well as war chiefs. And this Nemesis system works very cool, and some very interesting, it works very well, and it works in some very interesting ways. If a captain or a war chief kills you, and then you face off against him again, he will actually remember you, and he will say something about that once you come across him. You have the war chiefs, and these are kind of the masters of these captains, and each of these war chiefs will actually have bodyguards. And before going after a war chief, it's advised that you go after their bodyguards first. That way it makes the fight easier, but it's not required. And there's many different ways to play with this Nemesis system. I can't get into it all because this whole video would be on nothing but the Nemesis system. A Berserker. So here we go. We've got a big crew of dudes here. Several different types. You have defenders who have the shields. You have the Berserkers who require you to stun them before you can do damage to them. The defenders you have to hit from behind or stun. And captains have sort of unique abilities. Some of them are invulnerable to ranged attacks. Some of them are invulnerable to stealth attacks. Some of them are invulnerable to attacks on mounted beast. Some of them can be damaged by execution type moves, and others can't. Combat masters cannot. Now I'm screwing up bad here. I'm gonna have to focus for a second, guys, so you have to forgive me for that Berserker, man. I gotta stop trying to hit him. That's what happens when you try to hit a Berserker head on. You can counter a Berserker. Cut that dude's head off. Sometimes you can okay, we're gonna get a last chance here. Now, whenever you're taken out, you get a last chance attempt. It's like a counter. And eventually you get an upgrade that's called a last chance finisher, where when you move that prompt directly into the center of that circle, if you are successful in that, you will be able to actually execute the enemy that's trying to execute you. God, this captain's a real pain in the ass amongst these other dudes. Back off, guys. Alright, now that it's just the captain, we won't have any problem with him. See, some of them, like, you won't actually be able to vault over either. Whenever they're down on the ground like that, you can usually do a ground execution. Which requires you to hold down R2 and then press square. You can't do it to captains unless they're extremely low on health. Now, whenever captains or war chiefs die, they drop runes. These runes are basically little passive skills, and you add them to your weapons. You have 3 weapons as Talion. You have your sword, you have your dagger, and you have your bow. Let me get to this. So you have weapons and runes. You can equip different runes, and they are basically, the runes are just little passive skills. Basically is all they are. Recover 5 health on headshot kills. So for every headshot kill, I get 5 health. Stuff like that. Here's some dagger runes. Recover all focus and all health for killing a captain or war chief. Now, down in the corner where the mini-map is, you'll notice that there's a few different bars there. The red bar that encircles half of the map, that is the health. That is my health. The white bar there is my focus. Focus is basically an ability to slow time whenever aiming with your bow. Like right now, time is slow. Now I deactivated focus, and time speeds back up to normal. You have a limited amount of this. You'll notice that my bar is now much lower. You get focus back either through, you know, stuff from passive skills, or you can get it from draining enemies. Like this, by holding down circle. Or actually, that's how you get back elf shot. You'll see I actually did regain focus there. And focus will regenerate on its own over time. But it takes a while. But I did get some focus back there because I have a rune that allows me to regain some focus every time I pull a ground execution. And with 3 different weapons, and as the game progresses, you're eventually able to have 5 runes on each weapon. So that's a lot of little passive skills. Now that the final bar there is that little series of blue dots, and that is my elf shot. That is my arrows. Fire off 3 of them, and you'll notice that 3 of those little notches are gone. That is because I've used 3 arrows. You can get elf shot back from draining enemies. You can sometimes regain focus or health from draining enemies too if you have runes that allow that. But there is a number of ways to get a lot of this stuff back. As for health, you can get health back through, once again, runes. Like I said, we just looked at that rune once a moment ago that allowed me to get 5 health back every time I pulled a headshot kill with my bow. But you also get health back from herbs you find around the world. And here's an herb right here, for example. There are numerous different types of herbs, but they all do the same thing. They all restore health. But you also have these survival challenges. You'll notice I'm on survival challenge 4, which is I have to collect certain amounts of each of these different herbs in order to get some bonus Mirian. And Mirian is used for these upgrades. These are basically your attribute upgrades. You can add rune slots to your weapons, as each weapon actually only starts off with a few rune slots. It starts off with 1 default rune slot, and the other 4 come from upgrades that you get from Mirian, which is basically a currency within the game. You can also upgrade your max focus, upgrade your max health, and upgrade your max elf shot. In addition to that, eventually, when you get to the end of these, you get a few special abilities with each of your weapons. Like the Storm of Urfael. Once this is charged up with melee kills, you can press L3 and R3 at the same time to enable 20 seconds of unlimited executions. You get something similar with the bow, which gives you 15 seconds of unlimited elf shot, focus, and fire arrows. And you can also get the Shadow of Archon, which will allow you to become invisible for 20 seconds, which has its benefits within health. Or within stealth. What the fuck am I saying? Like I said, I've had a couple of beers. I'm a bit of a lightweight. It's Saturday night. I just got off work. That sword down there that has its own little blue meter next to it, that is the meter for the Storm of Urfael, meaning I have enough melee kills right now that my Storm of Urfael is fully charged. But you have to get to the max, the final tier, the top tier of the Mirian upgrades in order to gain access to that ability. So this is late game type stuff. Now finally, there is one more skill tree in the game, and that is just this. It has 2 separate skill trees, one for Ranger, one for Wraith. As you are half Ranger, sort of half Wraith, you are possessed by a Wraith known as Celebrimbor, who is actually a blacksmith and the creator of the Rings of Power. In addition to that, you are also a Gondorian Ranger, who was killed along with his family and is seeking vengeance. Celebrimbor has a similar mission of vengeance, if you will. So you have these two skill trees. Both of them have, very, very cool things. A lot of the Wraiths ones have some supernatural connotation to them. And a lot of the Ranger ones are more just based in, like, straight-up combat. You get throwing daggers, extra moves like impact. For when, like, say you counter an enemy, you will also stun them. Vault over an enemy, you'll stun them. Shoulder charge gives you a little sprint so you can break enemies' guards when they have shields. All these types of things pertaining to executions. This increases the amount of time you have to do a ground execution. This is the ability to absorb one hit without breaking your hit streak. This is the upgrade that lowers your hit streak down from 8 to 5 in order to do special moves. All different types of things like that. Brutalize, where you can actually brutally kill an enemy and cause other enemies to flee. And then you have your Wraith abilities, which, as I say, they are kind of based in the supernatural. These are things like Elven Swiftness, which allow you to run really quickly as you vault over different things. Brand, which allows you to basically assume control over enemies. You brand them, and then they are under your control. And this also has some very, very interesting uses within the Nemesis System, as you can brand a captain and turn him against his war chief or turn him against another captain. You have, like, combat drain, and that eventually becomes a combat brand as it's upgraded to where you can be in the middle of fighting a big pack of enemies, stop and hit circle and X at the same time and brand one of the enemies you're fighting and turn him into an ally. Not only that, but you will get the benefits of drain, such as bonus elf shot. And then you have Shadow Strike, which is an absolutely amazingly cool ability. It's where you aim with your bow, and I should try to show you guys a Shadow Strike. Let me see, let me find a orc here. In Uruk, actually. Okay, so I'm going to Shadow Strike this dude. You teleport to their location and hit them. It is quite badass. And then eventually you get an upgrade that allows you to do a Shadow Strike kill, where not only do you teleport to them instantly, but you also kill them. Very, very cool stuff. Very, very cool stuff indeed. So, this flurry attack is an upgrade also. And then eventually you get the upgrade to where you can add the head explosion onto the end of it. It's basically an upgrade for the flurry skill. Boom. Ground execution. And once you get good at this combat, I mean, it is just amazingly fun. as you can see, it is incredibly brutal, which makes it all the more awesome in my opinion. As in Batman, the combat is badass, but you know, it's all non-lethal stuff.
Ranger, you saved us. Could you do the same for my friends?
Actually, right there, what actually just happened, which I didn't even realize it, is those were actually some slave masters. And by killing them, I freed some slaves, which opened up some bonus missions for me. So now that we've got a grasp on the mechanics, we're going to move on and talk about what types of missions there are. Real quick, here's that Elven Swiftness. So you hop over something, then you press and hold X, and you're able to run faster. The more things that you vault over, the faster you can move. Oh. And of course, you know, you have the platforming style mechanics for from like Assassin's Creed, as well as the stealth style stuff. And by entering the Wraith world, you can basically see through walls, and you can also identify captains who are highlighted in red, and then you're able to click L3. I do not see a captain anywhere nearby that we will be able to identify. But the guys that are highlighted in green are what's known as worms. These are dudes that you can actually gain intel from. So, really quickly here, I'm going to stop really briefly, and then we're going to pick this back up. This was basically just an introduction to the mechanics and the upgrade systems and things like this, but this is going to be a multiple part sort of introduction to this game. And this is where as you can see, as I am kind of climbing along here, and then you have the triple ropes tied together. This is where the Assassin's Creed comparisons come from. Although the actual stealth mechanics and the stealth killings and things like that are very Batman Arkham-ish as well. There are similarities to both games within the stealth mechanics, but I would say the combat is almost nothing like Assassin's Creed whatsoever. The only reason that there are so many Assassin's Creed comparisons is if you look at something like this, like what I'm doing right now. I mean, that just looks so very much like Assassin's Creed, right? Also, like, you've got, in addition to having those ropes that you walk across, you know, you can kind of go around, and there are bushes that you can hide inside of. Which, wow, they're usually everywhere. I cannot believe, like, no, that one isn't it. Here's a slave master, so we'll actually freed by killing this dude. See if dude takes off, he's now free. Restore some health here. Actually, I didn't even need to, my health was fine. Dude up there. Shadow strike, kill him. Boom. That's such a fucking awesome mechanic. So awesome. I love it. And you don't have to run around and stealth up here. You can actually run around quite quickly and traverse areas and things like that. There's more of that elven swiftness for you guys. So yeah, I really feel like it's the platforming and the climbing around and some of the stealth stuff. Here's some of the bushes I was talking about. You see a lot of stuff like this in Assassin's Creed. So between this and the climbing, platforming style mechanics and some of the stealth mechanics, that's where all of the Assassin's Creed comparisons wind up being drawn. but the combat itself is so much more like a Batman game. So we are going to run in and do this mission really quickly, but I'm going to stop really briefly, and then we're going to pick it back up because, as I said, this was just kind of an introduction to what the mechanics are, what the upgrade systems are like, and things like that. Now we're going to start getting into the missions and what kind of content is in the game in the next video here. Alright, thanks for tuning in, and as always, have a good one, and keep on gaming hard.